Okay, now we can proceed to talk about nothing.
It's kind of like a reverse mullet. Party in the front, business in the back. This is FounderQuest.
How's it going?
So I'm working on this printfection migration. And, I've been thinking about what to do here. So we got this outreach from printfection about our pricing going up, in our case, dramatically. And we decided, we just don't want to pay that much for what we're getting. So I'm going through all of our inventory, looking at the printfection items that we have, shirts and stickers and so on. And just like thinking, where? So I've got to send it somewhere. Like, well, I guess I have to send it to myself. I'm like, do I really want to get a box of 800 shirts? It's like, no, I really don't. But I don't see there's much of a choice.
Well, we could just pay printfection.
Well, I guess, yeah, that is the other option.
Yeah, I'm on the fence about it because, like, yes, it is a dramatic price increase, but the value that they provide us is fairly dramatic from my perspective. I'm not quite sure like what price I attach to that, but I definitely attach more than $75 a month, which is what we were paying them, which just seems insane to me. Like, I see why they would raise their prices, like, in their defense.
Like, how much is it raised by? I forget. I looked at it originally, but I forget.
It's like,
I think
500.
500 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, to be fair, like, we should explain, like, they've had this, they raised their prices, like, I think like a couple years ago, because I remember when they went up, and I was like, man, I'm really glad that we got this like sweetheart deal that they, let all their past customers keep. But apparently, like, they went through the same progression as, or whatever, same logic as us, like, over time, like, we're probably taking them for everything they're worth.
I should probably back up and explain, in case this makes it into the actual podcast, that Printfection is a company that we have used that they're an inventory company. They keep our shirts and all of our swag. And when we want to mail it to people, we just give them the address or they have forms that people can fill in themselves, and magically shirts and stuff get mailed out to them.
When we want to give someone a shirt, what we do is we mention our Badger bot in Slack to shirt me, and it gives us a shirt link that we then send to someone. It's like a magical shirt bot, like a swag bot, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. I have a couple of thoughts on this. The first one is, we were paying $75 a month plus like shipping fees and handling and all that, right? We paid a certain amount to have things shipped out.
Yeah.
And the second is that, like, as the person who was previously kind of in charge of mailing out shirts, it is a huge, huge time suck and a giant pain in the ass.
I've got a closet full of shirts still that is just like warehoused at this point. I don't want to go back to that.
It is such a pain in the ass. So while it's like, yeah, $500 a month is a lot. It seems like a lot. If like Ben Curtis ended up sending out the shirts, I am 100% sure that you would spend more than $500 a month in your time.
Yeah, we're going to pay someone like $300 an hour to ship shirts.
So what you're saying is, since I'm the only person that hasn't actually done the shirt shipping, that I'm not a good person to judge the value of this service.
Ben, you don't know what you're getting into.
Yeah, when I found Printfection, I was seriously like, I thought I had died and gone to heaven. I was just like, please take this off of my plate.
So why are you even letting me have an opinion on this? You should be like, Ben, shut up. We know what we're doing. We're paying the $500 a month. Just deal with it.
Well, everybody gets to have an opinion. Yeah, so I guess there's a couple reasons why this is just hard, right? So first of all, since most of our readers probably haven't dealt with swag much, I'll just go through and explain, why it's such a pain in the neck and you don't actually want to do it yourself. So essentially, when you order t-shirts from the printer, usually they come in a big box that's just full of shirts. They're not nicely individually wrapped or anything like that. And maybe some printers offer that as a service. But when I got them, they tended to be just giant boxes of shirts. So that means, like, if you want to, say, go to a conference and put them on display, you have to like fold them up or roll them up in some way. If you want to mail them out, you've got to fold them up into a dimension that will fit flat and be nice, like in the little mailer. You've got to make sure you've got the right size of mailers at all times. You've got to, basically have a little postage setup where you're always going to stamps.com or whatever and, buying your stamps. Then here's a little something that I didn't really expect, but, we often would have people want shirts who are not inside the United States, at which time you have to fill out customs forms. You have to drive to the post office and drop things off. Like, it's just a huge, huge pain in the neck.
You're bringing back memories with the folding shirts before conferences. Cause like there were multiple, I just remember like entire evenings, like the night before my flight, like me and Kaylin just like folding shirts for my suitcase.
Not only that, but you remember how we had to get the shirts to the conferences? They weren't just delivered and folded to the conference organizers. They were we checked them. We checked bags.
One time I checked a bag of shirts. I checked a whole box, like this, like 25-pound box of shirts. And I think it was to like Pittsburgh. And Pittsburgh's like the airport there is like a 45-minute drive in rush hour traffic to the hotel. And I was like, we were 5 minutes away from the hotel when I realized the box was still at checking. Like I hadn't picked it up at the baggage claim.
No.
So like an hour and a half. Yeah.
Well, I had, and so these of shirts are big, right? They're like 2.5 feet cubed, right? And yeah, they weigh, it seemed like more than 20 or 30 pounds. It seemed like 40 or 50 pounds.
Maybe 50. Let's go with
shirts,
50.
50. Yeah. Shirts are heavy. And so I was at a conference in Denver and I'd never been there before. And the cab driver dropped me off in the wrong location. So I was humping a giant box of t-shirts around downtown Denver looking for the right place.
Just like sweat dripping down your face.
Yeah, it was miserable. And when I got there, I just kind of I found my table. The shirts weren't folded or anything because, timelines. And I just sort of, I made a pile as best I could. And the other thing is that if they're not like individually wrapped and labeled and stuff, people have to dig through them to find their size, right? Because the size is written on the label inside the shirt.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have everything like nicely, neatly organized beforehand, like 5 minutes in,
and they will
have a big pile of shirts. Like there will be no organization anymore.
It's mayhem.
It is mayhem. It's it's Fight Club in there. These developers love their shirts.
This is awesome. I can see myself right now going back to Kyle for Infection saying, you know what, we're happy to pay that $500. Please don't raise the price ever again.
I hope they don't listen to this podcast or they're going to come back to you with a higher price. Well,
our rates are now tripled. The things that are cool about Infection though, as I was going through here, because you can do the one-off things like Josh described. We have that Badger bot, which can send a link to somebody and then they just go fill in their info and they get their one shirt. But Infection also does a drop ship option. So you can go in and you can do a bulk order. And and that's what I was arranging just now, like a bulk order to myself. But one of the things that you can do, I think is pretty cool. All your stories of folding and rolling and labeling stuff. So Printfection has this option where if you do a drop ship to like a conference, you can have them do the individual rolling and labeling of each individual shirt.
That's worth its weight in gold.
I think it's 50 cents per item.
50 pounds of gold. That's a lot of gold. I will say for the amount of airtime that we've given Printfection since the start of this podcast, like they really should throw us a little bit of a discount.
We have promoted them heavily. Maybe that's why we got the cheap rate for so long.
Yeah, it could be.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Although, if we have listeners who have gone to sign up with Printfection because of our recommendations on the show, they should definitely email us so we can forward those to Printfection and say, hey, look at all these customers we sent you.
Yeah. So I don't know, like my own personal opinions, like, it's a lot of money. If I wouldn't recommend, just like not having any kind of service. Like if there's a different service that would work, like cool. But if it's just,
Yeah, we could replace it. It's just I'm not like sure what's going to be cheaper. I haven't done the like research the options, but I assume like it's a pretty involved business. So I mean, I assume it's going like anyone who's doing that level of service is going to charge for it, like something.
It seems like the most direct competitor for our purposes would be swag.com. And I haven't reached out to them yet. So I don't know if they do the one-off thing or if they're really focused around the bulk thing. But their pricing would be for us a little cheaper than Printfection. Like because they charge you about, some products that are like shirts, they'll charge you 1 cent per day per product. So per day of storage per month, right? So that work out to a couple $100, I think, per month for us. And then of course there's shipping and picking and packing on top of that. So it'd be a little cheaper, maybe half the cost. But again, I don't know if they do the one-off mailing like we can do with Printfection. And then the other complication is like we for the longest time wanted to do a store. Like we wanted to have a store where people can actually buy these shirts. And so that's another wrinkle that I've been thinking about. So, okay, go ahead and do that then. Let's get all this inventory. Let's send it over to a fulfillment house. But again, I don't know what the prices are on those companies.
Well, and I know that like there are ways to like connect services like Printfection to Shopify stores and have them act as the fulfillment so that you kind of you can use it, you get it for both types of delivery. But I was looking at Printfection. That is one area where they seem to be lacking a little bit. Like their documentation is like linking to Zapier and stuff. So there may be an option, but I know that people that have set up swag stores that have used like a back end, I think like Printfection. I forget what the services are, but I know there are alternatives that have been used. So we could always look into that.
We should just put all the swag on Amazon and just send it to the Amazon fulfillment centers.
Yeah. So the problem with that plan, and I did think
give us like
that.
a $1 coupon or something.
Yeah. The problem with that is that Amazon is pretty picky about what they will put in their warehouses. They want stuff to move. And
that makes sense. Yeah.
We don't move
I was
inventory.
really just joking. Like we couldn't like tell Amazon to send like 1,000 shirts to a gigantic conference. It doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, I actually thought about it. So, But
yeah, well,
their FBA
like if you go like the full like e-commerce, like setting up your own fulfillment and stuff, like at some point, like I don't know, that seems like you're still doing a lot of work that a service like Printfection is doing for you. Like they're consolidating all of the things that you would have to manage still, right?
You talking about the picking, packing, and shipping?
I guess, yeah. Like, I mean, it would be more involved to just like pick like some sort of like warehouse, right? That I don't know. It seems like it would be.
I think. Yeah, I mean, you also have to deal with the printer then too, right?
Yeah,
right. Because
like it would be something to manage, right? Yeah, like logistics, I guess is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you have to coordinate all those moving pieces.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So here's my business idea for anybody with like a warehouse and like the ability to write a Rails app is like just put people's t-shirts in your warehouse and then make a Rails app and you just mail them out for people and you can charge several $100s a month plus shipping, plus individual shipping fees.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one other option is Printful. That's what our friends
I've heard of that one.
Use. Yeah. And I think if you were just starting out, that would be a great option because it's print on demand, right? Mm-hmm. Versus like Printfection where you have to have a certain amount of inventory.
Yeah.
So I haven't looked closely at Printful. Maybe they would actually be a great fit for us. Maybe they can do the warehousing as well. I don't know. I haven't looked yet. But if we were to do this over again, I would go down that path rather than printing up a couple hundred shirts at a time.
Yeah. Like some of the print on demand services back in the day that we tried to use, like we had some trouble with just because of the quality of our t-shirt designs and the fact that we're kind of perfectionists. So we want like really nice t-shirts, and not every printer is set up to do like, really nice graphic tees, so I'm not a graphic designer, but there's a lot that goes into that process. If you're doing like detail in your designs and stuff.
One wrinkle is that our t-shirts are the Illustrator puts a lot of detail in them, and screen printing processes are, the ones that most screen printers use are fine for like blocky type things. But if you want a lot of detail, they've got to use special types of screens. Like you've got to essentially tell them to use that because they won't necessarily notice it and use them by default. And like that costs a little extra and all that.
Maybe that was more our problem, is that we just didn't know what to ask for initially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm totally happy with the decision to make super detailed, awesome t-shirt designs, because it really has set us apart over the years.
Yeah, that's been a good thing.
Yeah.
A+ would buy again.
Well, we'll figure something out to mail out our...
Speaking of t-shirt designs, it's been a long time since
we need to
design.
Yeah, we should get back on the swag design. Yeah. Well, maybe we should do we have a couple in the archives, I think. Still, we could bust out some.
True.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Maybe that would be a good trial, like of another fulfillment house, right? We could set up with Printful maybe and come up with a new design, or use one of our designs in the vault and do a trial run.
Well, then you'd have somewhere to ship the shirts from from the loser.
Right.
That's not your garage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was actually thinking like, okay, which address do I want to send them to? My home or my or the UPS store where we have our mailing address? And I was like, well, I don't have room in my house for them, so I guess I should send it to the UPS store, because then I could just take it straight to my office.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the complications.
I'm looking at Printful right now, and I'm just wondering, looks like, yes, like per shirt, they are like more expensive. Like it's saying, I don't know, $13 a shirt. And I think we probably pay, I don't really know at this point, maybe 6, 7, 8, 9. I remember 6 from a long time ago, but that was when I was really trying to get the cost down. So I think they're probably more now. And I was like, well, like how many shirts do we send out in a month? If we add up the total costs, I'm wondering if it's, similar or less or more.
We don't send out a ton usually. Although I think Ben's thinking about sending more like drop ship type things, maybe. Yeah. Yep.
And I'm looking at the Printful site, and they do have warehousing. So apparently you can store a bunch of inventory with them. And they have their storage fees section is kind of weird though. I mean, for me, because I'm not used to like inventory. I mean, for them, I'm sure it makes sense. But for me as a customer that has no experience, it's like they do it by per cubic foot, depending on how many units you have. So if you have, I think we'd fall in the 201 to 1,000 units category. And if you have that bucket, then it's $1.30 per cubic foot. I'm like, how many cubic feet do our shirts take? I don't know. I mean, I know many shirts we have, but
not that many.
So this is like how many errors am I gonna generate?
Pricing is hard.
I mean, a box of shirts, like the boxes that we used to schlep around the airports. I'm just imagining they were 4 or 5 cubic feet. Or wait, no, they were, something like that.
Yeah, it's totally like Honey Badger. Like you don't know how much you're gonna pay until you get into it.
Yeah.
I don't know how many errors my app throws.
Till you like ship the boxes. Yeah.
I think what I'll do then is I'll hang off on this, I'll hold off on this drop shipment to myself, and maybe give Printful a shot and see if we can get that set up and make it do 2 at the same time and see which one we like better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, if we pay, I don't mind paying $500 a month for a while anyway. I mean, like it's worth not shipping them to your house to like, yeah.
Yeah. It's like whatever we do is probably going to be more than $75 a month. So like if Printful ends up being like $1 or $2 grand a year cheaper, like I'm not even sure that's worth the trouble.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. See, this is the thing. Like we're not like as small as we used to be. Like we're like constantly reaching a different level, and it's weird doing things that like before you would have just like, it would have like blown your mind that you're going to like pay $500 a month for just, like to store some t-shirts. But, now it's worth it or whatever.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm still in the really scrappy.
Now, I mean, it's not bad to keep that mindset and just like adjust it proportionally, maybe, it's still good to be frugal or, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, that's sort of using third-party services is kind of how we're able to keep our headcount low.
Yeah.
And headcount is the major expense of a business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like these are all expenses that allow us to run a virtual company. Like, I mean, if you think about all the expenses that you would have if you were doing things like, like some other larger companies that are more traditional. I mean, there's employees that we don't have that, I mean, the alternative for like a larger competitor might be to like hire some, lower level employees that don't mind huffing shirts to conferences and suitcases. So, or whatever, showing up to move them around.
If we end up doing, whatever, changing with our fulfillment stuff and our swag, we definitely should get some more swag. Like we totally need some socks, maybe a tie.
Yeah.
Because shirts are cool, but we gotta have some variety in there. Now
Bolo tie.
I'm not gonna say like we do things like, I don't know, USB charging battery things. I don't want to go down
something
that path,
unique.
But
people love socks. I gotta say they do love socks. Yeah. I've also seen like a lounge, like pants and things like stuff for work from home, leisure wear, I guess is what you'd call it.
COVID survival gear.
Yeah.
I was just sitting here thinking, I was like, if we did hire an admin, how rude would it be to be like, here's a box of shirts, keep it in your garage. Mail them out.
Oh no, they'd be like, I'm getting paid to do this. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll fold shirts for money.
But also like all the labeling and all the like rolling up and yeah.
It's just work, right? It's like, it's a job.
Yeah.
That's true. But also I don't know. It's like the sort of thing. It's like, it seems like when you have like an employee, you need to be able to tell them what to do. You need to be able to like show them and train them so that the next, if they want to go somewhere else, like the next person, you can do the same thing. And it's just like, I'm just imagining trying to like remotely be like, okay, now show me how you've rolled up the shirts and how are you securing them so they don't unroll. And like, it just seems like such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. And then when like, if that person ever wants to like leave or move on from the company, it's like, okay, now you have to like put in your 2 weeks and you have to ship like 6 boxes of shirts.
Yeah. It's like mail all the shirts
to someone. And where do they send them? Yeah. They send them to Ben. That's the answer. Ben Curtis is where they send them.
Yeah, but I know you can't quit until you get rid of all the shirts. So you gotta find a way to do a promotion or something. Next thing you know, you get down to the high school and like every kid there's got like 3 Honey Badger shirts because they just drove down there and dropped off a box.
Oh my God. This reminds me, I don't know if I share this online, but when we were first started doing the shirts and I was fulfilling them myself, we ran a ad in Ruby Weekly where we were like, hey, come get your free t-shirt. So we're like, okay, Ruby Weekly, they're all Rubyists. Like, sure, I'll send every Rubyist a t-shirt. That sounds like a great option. But then we got posted somehow on like a message board of like free stuff where you just like fill out a form and people fill you free stuff. And I'm like, why am I sending all these shirts? Like, there's a lot of shirts that want to go to India right now. Like, there's a lot of like, I didn't know Ruby Weekly's audience was like so like international. I mean, I know it's international, but the overwhelming proportion of shirt requests we were getting were from places where we didn't have many customers. And so, so eventually I think I asked somebody or whatever, they're like, yeah, I found you on this thing. I was just like, oh no. So I was kind of a jerk. I was just like, I'm sorry. It's like no more international orders until this, this is cleared out because it costs a lot of money to send things internationally.
Yeah. Apparently there are like boards where people share like swag, swag deals.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
The things you learn when you have no idea what you're doing in marketing.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Oh, that's great.
It's like these shirts aren't free. I'm not just like giving them out to the world because I want to give shirts out to the world.
Well, probably not the most important thing for us to think about as far as the business goes, but yeah, sometimes you just got to deal with the details,
Yep.
Yeah, this is truly what small business is about.
Well, we got a lot done this week on in open source land.
Yeah,
So
I should talk about
the
that.
contractors.
Right. Y'all are rocking and rolling with the contractors.
I've onboarded a couple of contractors so far, and they're already solving problems for us, and it's great. Yeah, we shipped a bunch of new releases already. We did like a couple of PHP releases. I had a few of my own bug fix, typical releases, but yeah, making progress. So that's exciting. And it's really nice actually, like just being able to, like, 'cause I'd gotten like immersed back in the details for a while there over the last year or so. And like, it's really nice to like step back again and just like do some like higher level management and spend time documenting issues and just have continual progress being made. Like I realize like I'm a lot happier doing that, I think, than getting stuck in a project when I know like there's like 10 other things that also need to be happening. I need to be better at delegating. And so, yeah, it feels good.
Good. I kind of feel the same way about the blog stuff. It's nice to have stuff happening when I'm not capable of doing it in the moment.
Well, it feels like too, there are certain personality types that are more inclined towards delegating well than others. Some people have the control freak, perfectionist kind of trait where they just want to make sure everything is just so, and not necessarily like quote right, but like they have a particular opinion about the way something should be, and they want it done that way, and they don't trust anybody else to do it that way, right? And so they have a hard time delegating. I think I fall into that trap myself, and so but I think there are other people who are like, yeah, I totally see the benefit of having other people helping me get my stuff done, so delegate away. They have no qualms about that.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes you have to like check and see where you are on that, personality spectrum and see, is this something that I really need to overcome, or can I leverage my particular quirks, for greater good, for much justice?
Yeah, I definitely feel a pull of both, the light side and the dark side of the force.
Do y'all ever read E-Myth?
Oh, a long time ago.
Back in the day. Yeah. Same here. A long time ago. I reviewed it again recently because we've been working with a business consultant over at the consulting company Hint. It had been a long time since I read it, so just kind of like skimmed it again. But they've got the concept of the a business owner has like 3 roles that you are constantly like having to manage, or maybe they're in conflict to some extent. But it's like the manager, the entrepreneur, and the technician. And I get stuck in the technician side of things when I'm just like, I have the technical knowledge to do this, and like there's no one else like capable of solving this problem except me. And so I'll just like dive in and do it. And then I come up, I like 2 weeks later, I finally take another breath and realize like I'm back in the technician mindset. I need to get out.
I think the trap that I fall into on the technician mindset is not that no one else can do this, but that it's faster for me to do it.
Yeah, well, that too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think parents have this struggle as well, right? It's like, well, I could help my kid learn how to unload the dishwasher, or I could just do it, right? And get it done.
Am I going to like manage my kid to clean up the living room for like 2 hours?
Yeah.
Or am I going to just do it myself real quick in 10 or 15 minutes?
Yep. And, one approach leads to more growth than the other. So, yeah, the struggle is real.
Yeah.
But I appreciate all the delegation work that you've been doing lately, because it's really motivated me to try and get over my own hesitation to delegate more. So,
yeah,
working on it. It's
a continual, like, I don't know, like it's something that you have to keep working at, because like it's definitely not a solved problem just because I found someone, I found some people to do stuff right now. It's like those people aren't going to be around forever. They might not be interested in this work forever. Also, like trying to make sure like I manage them effectively and keep them, keep the work interesting and not a drag on them. Like you don't want to like burn people out, or just like you need to manage people still. So like that's something I'm learning. Like even with one-off contractors, like you still need to manage people and try to help them be successful. Otherwise, they don't like what they're doing and they don't want to work for you anymore.
I think the reason that in the past when I tried to delegate stuff, it didn't quite work out like I expected is because when I delegated something, I kind of expected the person to be another me. I kind of expected to be like, okay, now clone, go off and just do this thing. And you can do it, right? You know how to do it. I would do it fine if it was me doing it, so you can do it. But that doesn't really work out because, people don't really know every single thing that you know. Like they don't have the same aptitudes that you have or abilities or knowledge. And so like I think the thing that I've had a little bit more success with is just not being so general in the things that I'm delegating, just kind of like being very specific, right? With these blog posts, it's like I'm asking you to write a blog post about something you know about. So like that's, I can find people who can do that. And that's, it's very concrete. They know what they need to do. They know what, I know what I expect from them versus, how I used to do things, which is just sort of like, okay, just start working, just, write some stuff.
Yeah, that's good. Clear expectations and directions are certainly helpful.
And also kind of viewing it as like a delegation, like you're not necessarily giving work to like a person, you're sort of setting up a system to which you can give work. Because if you just give work to a person, maybe you find a good person, but eventually that person quits and you have to find the other exactly right person. It's just stressful because, you're always sort of relying on this one person and, your success depends on them sort of willingly doing what you want them to do, as opposed to, well, I can give this, like, I want to delegate this. I've got this system of several people and I can give this to one of them. If it doesn't work out, I can find somebody else who can do it.
I really like that flexible approach that you took and that I think I've been trying as a result of your suggestion, which is like where you set the expectations is important and how like the big thing I've been trying to like get across to people is I don't mind like the pace of the work is really flexible. Like I'm trying to hire a lot of people so that, if one person can't do something or doesn't have time or doesn't want to do something, that's totally fine. Like there will always be something else in the future. Like, I'm not mad at you if you can't get to something, but don't take something on that you're not going to deliver. So like once you actually agree to, deliver something, then that's the point where we want like, consistent communication and some kind of regular progress happening. Yeah. And then have like an off ramp, like if, because things come up, like, if you can't, obviously, like if you commit to something and then for some, reason you can't deliver, then, tell us and we'll have some sort of off ramp so that it doesn't like burn the bridge there either. Like,
yeah, I think that's a really important thing. So people don't feel trapped. They don't feel like, you don't have these weird emotional things that just kind of like creep up where people are worried you're mad at them because they didn't do something on a specific day.
Yeah. And maybe you are a little bit like, and like if, you get like in these weird, like tension can creep into those relationships and, there's, there can be like small, like passive aggressions and things. And it's like, really, it's just, you need to be communicating and it needs to be like, okay, like obviously you're having trouble with this. Like why? It's not the problem isn't that you're having trouble. It's just that I don't know what's happening so that we can like figure out, what would be a better thing for you to be doing or whatever.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like you mentioned sort of an off ramp. It's like you have in the past, it seems like I've gone into some situations where the only planned for outcome was basically everything goes perfectly right.
Right. So
then if I would if I would delegate something and somebody would not do it perfectly right, then there wouldn't be any sort of plan for that. Right. So I would get upset or I'd be like, oh, this person didn't know what they're doing. When in fact, it's like sometimes that's going to happen. And so, yes, it can be a little bit upsetting in the moment, but also like, I think it's important to be able to say, okay, like, I know how to handle this. It's in our playbook. So, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I don't have to make a decision right now when I'm annoyed. And it's just not as personal.
Right. Yeah. And especially if that playbook is shared between you, then it's like it isn't a surprise when whatever outcome, like however that's handled, because that's the expectation. It's like, planning for all the other potential outcomes or whatever.
You've been listening to Honey Badger.
Yeah, I've been listening to FounderQuest, actually.
FounderQuest? Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. You've been listening to FounderQuest. Please review us on Apple podcasts, and I just gotta go because this is just too much for me.
I think that was great, Star. I think that's a wrap.
FounderQuest is a weekly podcast by the founders of Honey Badger. Zero instrumentation, 360-degree coverage of errors, outages, and service degradations for your web apps. If you have a web app, you need it. Available at honeybadger.io. Want more from the founders? Go to founderquestpodcast.com. That's one word, where you can access our huge back catalog of episodes. FounderQuest is available on iTunes, Spotify, and other purveyors of fine podcasts. We'll see you next week.